Well, I'm Pat. I'm 67. I'm a granny and I live locally. And I lived in Brockham many, many years ago, for 6 beautiful years, just around the time they were starting to drill at the beginning. And everybody was very worried at the start. But 2 nodding donkeys, it just didn't make much difference. And I thought that was fine. Lived in the area the rest of my life so far. It's so beautiful. Leith Hill's always been a very special place. And I got involved totally at random. I was just cycling past the camp and I stopped to find out more, and I thought, how can this be happening? And somebody at the camp then said to me, well, there's also something happening at Brockham, and I didn't know about it. So I went down to Brockham and found out what the Brockham Protection Camp was all about, and I thought, my goodness me, you know, what is happening here? And so I got involved and haven't looked back.
Brockham Camp was already set up when you got there, was it?
Brockham Camp was already set up, and it was just before the day of the arrests when I turned up there.
So what did you expect to find there when you got to the camp? Because obviously people had spoken about it. It had been on the radio that they were setting up a camp there.
Yes.
And I suppose to people who were not used to that, it was a very strange thing to see somebody randomly turn up and start making a camp at the side of the road.
Yes.
In a village like Brockham.
Well, it was such a step out of my comfort zone. You know, I just I didn't know what to expect, but I thought, you know, what was going on at Leith Hill was important, and I thought, well, I'll just check out what's going on in Brockham. And person up at Leith Hill, who I was chatting to about Brockham, said they can just go straight into production without having to get a new licence or a new planning permission and stuff. And I thought, well, that's a bit iffy. So, yeah, and I came.
Yeah. And of course, talking about licences, it's always been a point of contention as to whether they had the correct licences or not. Do you know about that sort of time? Were you involved in what went on at that time?
Yes, I was, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I am so brought up to believe in the rule of law and that laws are for our protection, to safeguard us. And then, you know, I had to go home and check, and I thought, well, they must be allowed to do this. And so I went home and checked and thought, no, they're not. And it was, you know, you say I was shocked, what a cliche, but I really genuinely was.
Was everybody in the village shocked?
Well, the people I know in the village, because I've got family in the village, and they were just, oh, no, you know, well, does it matter? And I think everybody in the village had got so used to the old nodding donkeys, and even the term nodding donkey, it sounds quite friendly.
Yeah.
And they got used to 35 barrels a day when the field was producing, and that wasn't all the time. And it was just part of Brockham life. And I don't think they took on board the fact that everything was changing with the oil production.
10 years from now, we are going to be no further towards renewables, in my opinion, if we carry on the way we are doing.
Well, I've got two things to say on that. And the first is that I don't think that the council legislation has kept up with the huge possible increase in oil production. I was invited onto the site by the chief CEO of Angus, and I felt it was quite a scary business. There were so many protections and safeguards, and you know, we were quite close to the actual rig itself. And you think, this is actually very potentially dangerous, and all the legislation surrounding it has got to be spot on. And I'm not sure that it is. I don't think we're used to this sort of thing.
Do you think the council are actually up to speed on what they should be doing, or do you think they've got the expertise to be doing that job?
Well, again, you know, as one who was born and brought up to believe in the council exists to safeguard us and our lives, I think they're doing their best. I think they're trying. I mean, you sort of write to the council, you get a reply where they answer your questions as best as they can. But, I mean, to give an example here, Angus Energy had already been working for 3 nights. I've seen the video evidence to prove this on the Saturday night, the Sunday night, 2 nights, and on the Monday afternoon there was a visit from 3 council officers. Now, I raised this with the council and had a reply saying, well, the 3 council officers, I'm sure Angus Energy would have told them of the need for overnight working. And to me that is so trusting of Angus, and they hadn't told the council, they obviously hadn't. So much goes on out of sight, underground, deep down underground. You have to trust the oil companies, and their main emphasis is obviously on safety but on profit.
Yeah.
And they're doing what they have to do to satisfy their shareholders to make money. And I do feel we need to toughen up the regulations. Planning regs are very, very strict and totally right. If you're building an extension or anything like that, you can come and you can inspect what's going on and what's visible. With oil you can inspect nothing. You've only got the traces on the surface of what's going on underneath. And, you know, back to the site visit by the 3 council officers, they weren't told what was going on about the night working. And the council needs to have teeth, and it just doesn't have any.
Are you a local person?
I live on Leith Hill, actually.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay. And have you been down before?
No, my friend asked me if I'd come along. She just said she can't come because if she comes, she'll get thrown in jail.
Right,
so
okay.
I'm here to support her, really.
Is there any law that supports my rights? To be totally honest, I don't know. All I'm aware of at the moment
Do you
is
think
that is something you ought to know? Well, I don't know it, so no. You could find it out.
Would you mind me having your name, or?
My name's Fiona Hunter.
Thank you.
Just walk a little bit faster.
This is too important. It's too important not to do it. It's too frightening and too worrying.
Yes.
It's too frightening to let it go. People need to know what's happening because then they can make some decisions.
What can Surrey County Council do? They can't say sort of, we're going to fine you £500,000 or anything. They can't do that. They can't stop what's happened. I just don't know where we stand here legally. So, I think the law has got to be changed. I think it's got to be a nationwide movement to toughen up and to create specific planning regs for oil and mineral waste companies. Well, let me explain what happened. I was actually at the Protector camp on the afternoon of Tuesday the 17th, and just after 3, about 3:15, this plume of vapour shot up into the air, and it came from very close indeed to the rig. and contacted the council. They said, oh, it was a field caught fire behind. The farmer had a fire in the field behind. And I thought, no, that is not right. So I went up to the camp and spoke to some security guards there and left my name and number with the CEO, Mr. Pretorius, and he got back to me and he said, you know, perhaps we should get together to discuss this. So 3 of us did that. We had a discussion with him where he did say that they were not having any plans to acidise. He said this with all 3 of us listening and was quite determined that this was the case, and offered us a visit round the site, and we thought, why not? And it was very interesting to actually do this. And PR exercise, okay, fine. But I thought the information that I gained from that was very valuable indeed.
Have you had any written confirmation of anything that was said at that time to you?
I personally haven't.
Do you know of anybody that may have?
There is a possibility. I know Mr. Pretorius did promise that he would do such a thing. So wait and see.
Okay.
We've formed a group called the Brockham Oil Watch, which is exactly what it says. It's a group of people who are very concerned about what's been going on, and we do feel that without the protection camp and all the information, the videos, the logging of everything that happened, we wouldn't have known any of this. So it's so important to have such a setup, and we felt that our first priority is definitely to make Brockham much more aware of what is going on. And it's not just a NIMBY, oh, we don't like oil. It's, can we trust them to be digging under? I mean, who was it now? Was it Stephen Sanderson or David Leningas said, put your hands up if you live in the green belt. There's oil in your backyard or under your backyard and we're going to get it. And you know, but you've got to have trust. You've got to feel that your council is there to protect you. And if it's not, to such an extent that drilling was going on without their knowledge, then we cannot count on them to protect us. I think this incident, this whole episode has shown that councils cannot monitor oil companies adequately. Even with coal mines, the council can go down into a mine and inspect, but they can't get down into the earth. They can only see the evidence that's on the surface. Let's get the government getting jobs in sustainables and encouraging them, rather than, you know, basically keeping up with a dinosaur industry. It's dangerous, and no matter what the regulations you get, it's still difficult and dangerous, and there's less and less of it in the earth. And you know, as a granny here, I just think my grandchildren, my great-great-grandchildren, I'd like them to have something left in the earth, and I'd like them to have a sustainable future where you do have perhaps small wind turbines, you've got wave power, we've got tidal power, we are an island. We can do so much, and we're not doing it. It's not too late.